Hey, welcome to church. It's great to have you with us, whether you found us on YouTube or on the Edge website, wherever. Come on, we're going to worship God. We believe in a good God, a God that despite the circumstance can do something great. Amen. We believe in a God that can turn mourning into dancing, can turn beauty to ashes, turn shame into glory, turn graves into gardens. So come on, we're going to worship. We're going to declare this morning, hey, whether you're in your kitchen or your bathroom or wherever, we're going to sing. Come on. And I searched the world, and it couldn't fill me. Mind's empty praise and treasures the faith are never enough. Come on, then you can. Oh, then you came along, put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Come on, we declare it this morning. And oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing is better than you. I know it's true that I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, failures and flaws. You've seen them all and you still call me friend. Come on, church, because the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Better than you. There's nothing better than you. No, there's nothing is better than you. Come on, we declare it again. There is nothing. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you. There's nothing is better than you. Come on, we're going to declare this morning. Come on, we sing you turn morning. You turn morning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. Turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. Come on, we sing it again. You turn morning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one. Come on, you turn graves into gardens. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing
better than you.
There's nothing
better than you. There's nothing.
Come on, louder now. Nothing is better than you. We sing, we sing, we say. So there's nothing better than you. There's better than you. No, there's nothing.
Nothing is better than you.
Come on, you turn graves into gardens. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one. Come on, we sing it again this morning. You're the only one. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one. Come on, you're the only one that can. You're the only one. You're the only one. You're the only one who can. Come on, lift up a shout of praise this morning wherever you are. Hey. Worship you, God. Come on, we sing Can't Go Back. I can't go back to the beginning. I can't control what tomorrow will bring. But I know here in the middle is the place that you promised to be. Can we sing I'm Not Enough?
I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? So all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again?
As I walk
Now through the valley,
let your love rise above.
every
We sing like the sun.
like the sun shaping the shadow.
In my
Weakness, your glory appears.
not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Sing it again. Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Will you meet us here? We thank you, Lord, that you meet us right here where we are right now this morning, God. In the middle of a mystery, in the middle of a struggle, God, you can meet us right here. In our houses, in our living rooms, Father. Let your Spirit meet us. Because we are never forsaken, we're never forgotten, God. So come on, we sing. So not for the minute was I forsaken. The Lord
Lord is in this place. Oh, not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. And come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. We worship you, not for a minute. So forget it. You meet us here in the middle. Come on, church. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. So come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place.
Good morning, church. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Church Online. This is week 2 of Lockdown 2. Hope you are all well. Let's get straight into the word this morning, eh? I'm talking about the same thing, which I will be up until Christmas, New Year, because it's something that's really on my heart, that we do emerge well from whatever we're going through. But I've slightly tweaked the title this week. Okay, I've slightly changed it. I'll explain why in 2-3 minutes when I get into the message. I'll explain why I tweaked and changed the message slightly. But I want to talk this morning, just for a short while, a few minutes, about graduating with honor. Graduating with honor. I don't know about you, but I never went to university. You might never have gone to uni or never have got the pleasure of graduating from anywhere at all. But hey, what about the class of 2020? What about graduating from the class of 2020 and graduating with honor? You know, we talk about graduating with honors, but I'm missing the S off this morning and talking about graduating with honor. And what I'm talking about is not coming out of 2020 and graduating from 2020 with any kind of regret or any kind of shame, or graduating from the class of 2020 not embarrassed and not with dishonorable discharge. But I'm talking this morning about leaving the class of 2020 with honor, with our heads held high, with a lot of us and most of us hopefully leaving the class of 2020 stronger and bigger and better. And I know it's been tough, and it still is tough right until the very end, but leaving 2020, the class of 2020, graduating with a strong testimony. Testimony this morning is still strong. It held strong all the way through 2020, all the way through March, all the way through lockdown, all the way through lockdown 2. And your testimony held strong. Your story of 2020, wouldn't it be great if your story of 2020 was, I graduated with honour? Not with honours, but I graduated with honour. And I'll tell you where the title came from this morning. The title came from a little scene that I saw when I was walking down the quayside for some exercise and just thinking about the message. And just in front of me, just on the Millennium Bridge, I noticed something quite unusual. It was totally out of context with everything else that was going on. A lot of people were on bicycles and walking and taking families to the walk. And I noticed there was two students. And two students on the quayside dressed fully in gowns, the graduation gowns, and fully, with the graduation cap, holding the graduated scroll, the graduation scroll. So there they were, fully dressed up and fully gowned up and fully capped up and everything. And I overheard the conversation. They were talking to people, they were getting photographs taken, and somebody was taking a video recording of them. And it was very strange. It was very out of context and very out of everything else that was happening. I overheard the conversation just very briefly as to why they were doing that, because nobody else was doing it. And of course, graduations have been cancelled all through this year. And I just heard one of them say to somebody, well, she says, we graduated ourselves. And the context of that is saying we graduated ourselves. It spoke volumes. They didn't need a ceremony, and they didn't need other people to validate their success, to clap them for what they'd gone through and what they'd learned and everything else. They knew they'd done well. They knew they'd worked hard. So what they did was, instead of waiting for a graduation that might never happen in front of people, they graduated themselves. I quite like that. I think a lot of us should do that this year. Not waiting for the applause of other people, not waiting for the validation. We can do without the validation of other people. If we know we've done well, if we know that our testimony is still strong, if we know this morning we can leave the class of 2020 with honour, with our head held high, come on, let's graduate ourselves, graduating with honour this morning. And so the question is, how do we do that? How do we pass this test of 2020 and all the stuff that's going on? How do we pass this class? I'm going to go back to what I read last week because it's really relevant. I think we can all learn from this. We can all graduate learning this. I'm going to read from Philippians 4:11 again, and I'm reading from the Message, and it's a very short verse, which Paul was saying to the Philippian church. He's teaching them what he's learned through all the stuff that he's been through, and I love the Message translation. The Message translation, it just reads like something I mentioned last week, that the kind of Lady Mary would say to Carson in Downton, or something you would hear on The Crown, for instance. One of these. It's very English. It's very proper. And Paul says, I've learned by now to be quite content, whatever my circumstances. Quite content, whatever my circumstances. So, how's that going for you right now? How is that verse going for you right now? Anybody taking from the class of 2020 that you've learned? It doesn't happen overnight. By the way, this is not a gift. It's not the gift of contentment. I'm talking about lessons that we learn and things that we learn and something we can leave this year with. If we've learned nothing else this year, perhaps, if this year, has stolen from us or has robbed us of stuff, just if we can learn this lesson like Paul learned from all the trials and all the tests and all the classes and all the stuff that came against him that he had to go through, if we can learn like Paul, when Paul says, I've learned by now, he's kind of hinting there that it took a while. Right? Anybody with me? It's taking a while for this penny to drop. It's taking a while for this lesson to learn. He says, I've learned by now, and boy, it might have taken a long time, but I've learned by now to be quite content, whatever my circumstances. So let me give you a point for us to be thinking about this morning and maybe take into this week. And this could be a word for somebody this morning. Number one this morning is this. To graduate with this lesson, to learn this lesson. Number one, to be content and not contend. Have you got that? To be content and not contend. It's only one letter difference, but boy, what a difference this would make to your end of year. What a difference this would make to your life. What a difference this would make to my peace and my life. You know, contend, right? Contend means to struggle with everything. Right? To struggle with everything. To make everything a personal battle. To make everything a personal mission. The dictionary definition of contend means to dispute. It means to struggle. It means to resist. It means to contest. And you know, a lot of people have learned, I hope you've learned this lesson by now, that maybe this year has brought this out of you, that contending everything and contending everybody will just wear you out. I wonder how many people this morning are just absolutely worn out because you've been contending everything. You've been fighting over everything. You've been disputing over everything. You've been struggling with everything. You've been resisting everything. You've been contesting everything. And you've probably learned the lesson like many of us have learned this year. And just through life, that we've learned by now that contending everything will wear you out. It will drain you. Anybody know people like that this morning? Anybody know people this morning who are always disputing, always wrestling with stuff, always struggling? The people who, come on, you got to think of somebody. You must know somebody this morning. People who are always resistant, always resisting. I can think of a certain president this morning who this might go out to this morning if he ever hears this. A certain president this morning who is disputing, who is struggling, who is resisting. And I've got to say to the president this morning, you will wear yourself out. Just contesting and struggling and battling and just letting everything get to you. Anybody know someone like that? People like that will never graduate with honor. By contending everything and contesting everything and disputing everything, we will never graduate with honor. We might graduate with a heart attack, or might graduate with a stress breakdown, or might graduate with some stomach ulcers, but we'll never graduate with honor. You know, we want to leave 2020. Come on, somebody with me this morning. We want to leave 2020. We want to graduate the class of 2020 with honor. Not worn out and not wrecked and not disputing everything and not contending everything. So learn to be content, right? And not contend. I'm going to read a cheeky verse. This is a cheeky verse in Proverbs 27:15. And Proverbs 27:15 says this. It says, a continual dripping on a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. I'll read that again because I do like it. And just to annoy people even more. Continual dripping on a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. And I can just imagine some of the husbands this morning, just corner of their eyes looking over at the wives. You wouldn't dare look at them full on, but in your mind maybe you're looking at them and just make this a verse of the day. A continual dripping on a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. You know, the Bible's talking about people who dispute everything. People who question everything. People who have an opinion on everything. And it's like a continual drip, 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 drip. Dispute, drip. Question, drip. I've got an opinion, drip. I'm contending, drip. Never content. Never satisfied. Never let things go. Okay, let me read another verse to balance this out, okay, in case you think I was being a little bit cheeky reading Proverbs 27. Let me read Proverbs 26. This will balance things out a little bit. It'll just convict some of the men maybe rather than the women. Proverbs 26, verse 21. Proverbs 26:21 says this. It says, as charcoal is to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. A contentious man to kindle strife. So I'm just balancing things out, that it's not just women that can be contentious, it's men that can be contentious as well. And all the women said, yes, okay, I get you. But you see, the Bible's, we can all be contentious, we can all contend, we can all struggle, we can all fight. It's not just certain people, it's everyone can do this. And the Bible is talking about people who cause arguments. Do you know anybody like that? Who is looking for arguments, looking for problems, looking for complaints. People who stir up arguments and stir up strife and stir up disputes. People, come on, you got to know someone like this morning. Don't name them, just you can think about them. People who are stirrers, just stirrers, always stirring up gossip, always stirring up rumour, always stirring up trouble. Come on, you've got to know people like that. And I can guarantee this morning, people who are contentious like this will never be happy and never be satisfied. And we'll leave 2020 with a trail of destruction and dissatisfaction and their nerves on edge, and they will not graduate with honour. For our own peace and contentment this morning, let me just give you three very quick things. These are not really points. They're kind of just thoughts, just things to help us this morning for our own peace, to make sure that we are content and not contend. Okay, firstly, don't contend the rules or the regulations or the laws, even though we might think that they are unfair and unjust. We are not going to change them. Okay? So don't contend the things that you can't change, like the rules and regulations maybe that we're currently under right now, and you're disputing them and complaining about them and mourning about them and groaning about them. We could all do that. But hey, don't make them the issue. Because if you make them the issue, if you make lockdown the issue, or restrictions the issue, or the things that we can't do the issue, guess what? They will define you. So don't make them what defines you. Don't let them shape you. And I'll tell you what, that will bring so much peace and so much contentment to somebody this morning who's just chewing over all this stuff and it's not fair, it's not right, and I hate this, and how much longer. No, just for your own peace and contentment, don't let them define you. Don't let the mask wearing define you. Don't let the social distancing define you. Don't let where you can't go define you. Secondly, and this is really important to somebody this morning, because you might be in this position right now, and I hope this really helps you. Don't contend with people who don't care about you. There are people this morning who are worn out, who are stressed out, trying to win somebody and trying to help somebody and trying to pat somebody on the head this morning with a there, who don't really care about you. And you spend so much time counseling, so much time trying to help, so much time texting, so much time ringing, so much time worrying about them and saying nice things to them that you are absolutely worn out this morning. Don't contend with people like that who just won't change. I'm not saying don't care about people, because we always should care about people. But if you spend so much time with somebody and they just will not change, I'll tell you something, they will only drag you down. If you continually contend with them, it will steal your contentment. You have to decide this morning between your peace and your contentment, or spending so much time on people who will only drag you down. Don't spend your energy on... I'll tell you what to do this morning. Reverse that. Spend your energy this morning on people who are willing to listen. Spend your time and spend your energy. Find contentment in people who are willing to listen and who are teachable. Right? Thirdly, this is so important. This is for definitely, I know it is, for sure it is for somebody this morning. This is probably the most important of the three things I'm mentioning, with things that will help us with our own peace and our own contentment. Okay, this is for somebody this morning. Number 3, the third thing is, don't contend with your own imperfections. Right? Don't contend with your own imperfections. People who continually get frustrated with themselves. People who continually... I'm speaking to somebody this morning who is disappointed in yourself. I'm speaking to somebody this morning maybe who is angry with yourself. Paul says, by now, I have learned, whatever the circumstances, to be content. In other words, to be at peace with. And I think this morning, for somebody listening who is angry with themselves and frustrated with themselves, disappointed with themselves, because you're imperfect, because maybe you're weak in a certain area, or you've made a mistake, or you're not strong, or there's something you can't do, or your physical imperfections. The fact that we're imperfect. Come on, let's learn the lesson this morning. It's an important lesson, this, because if we're ever going to have peace, if we're going to graduate this class of 2020 with some kind of peace, with some kind of contentment, because this can ruin our days, and this can ruin our weeks, and this could be an issue that we have to live with for a long time, that people who contend with our own imperfections. Okay, history lesson. Oliver Cromwell in the 1600s was the Lord Protector of England, and he was a vicious guy. Churchill called him a dictator. He was fierce. He was relentless in his pursuit of people who were imperfect, people who were different, and he wiped out hundreds and if not thousands of people in the 1600s while he was Lord Protector of England. And like every person who came into power, people had their portraits done. And so the person who was going to do the portrait of Cromwell was terrified, because what they normally had to do was, we call it airbrushing, but they made people look good. Okay, when they painted a portrait, they kind of covered over blemishes and covered over faults and covered over imperfections. And so when he came to Cromwell, who wasn't the most, he was no George Clooney, right? He wasn't the most handsome of guys when you've seen portraits of him. He he was fearing for his life. And so when Cromwell sat in front of him to do his portrait, he gave a command. And he says, you will not get a farthing of my money unless, he said, you paint me warts and all. Which took the artist by complete surprise. Cromwell said to him, he said much more than this, but this is the gist of it. He said, paint me warts and all. In other words, just paint me as you see me. He says, you will not be punished, and also you will not get paid unless you paint me as you see me, with every wart, with every blemish, with every imperfection, with every spot. You know, no concealer for me. I shouldn't even know about concealer, but having lived with 3 women for many years, I know something a little bit about concealer. I also know something about people who use concealer to cover up their hearts and cover up stuff that they conceal things and hide things. I want to tell you this morning, church, for somebody this morning who's struggling, who is battling and contending with your own imperfections this morning, whatever it is, whether it is physical or whether it's a weakness or whether it's something you're not good at or something that you've failed at or you've made a mistake and you're beating yourself up. Let me tell you something this morning. I believe this, church. I believe this one thing. I believe that God accepts me just as I am. I believe God accepts me, warts and all. God does not want me to use concealer to cover all my mistakes and cover all my weaknesses and to cover the things that are not perfect. God accepts me, as they used to sing at every Billy Graham crusade right at the end when he invited people to come to Christ, just as I am. Just as I am. And I think if we can understand that God accepts me just as I am, warts and all, we can be at peace with ourselves. I want somebody this morning just to go away from this message at peace, with yourself. Never mind the world and people around you. We will never be at peace with our circumstances or with other people unless we find a peace and contentment with ourselves. To be at peace, maybe this morning I'm speaking to somebody and we can't do anything to quiet the storm that's raging around us. There's nothing we can do this morning to quieten the storm. We haven't got the power or authority or the strength to quiet the storm, whatever the storm is raging around you this morning. But you can quiet the storm that's raging inside of you this morning. Come on, is somebody receive that this morning? You can quiet the storm raging inside of you this morning. Quiet that storm of self-criticism, of self-hate, of self-disappointment, of self-frustration. Just quiet the storm inside of us and just accept this morning, God receives me and God accepts me and God loves me and God can use me just as I am. Yes, with my imperfections. Job put it like this. Job put it like this in Job 22, verse 21. Listen to this. Job says, now acquaint yourself with him, with God. Acquaint yourself with God and be at peace. And thereby good will come to you. Let me read that again. Now acquaint yourself with him, capital H, be at peace, thereby good will come to you. So what he does, to break it down into 3 things, okay? How to get 3 points out of one little verse like this. Number 1, he says, know God. Just know God. Acquaint yourself with him. We'll never find peace No matter how calm our situation, no matter how clever we are, no matter who we are, we'll never find peace unless we know God. So I don't know if I'm talking to you this morning who just tuned in, and maybe you're not part of our church, or maybe you don't go to church, or maybe you're kind of semi-religious or not interested or whatever. I don't know who I'm talking to this morning, but we will never find peace, never find contentment, never find that satisfaction unless we know God. That's the first thing we've got to do. We've got to know God. We've got to not just know about God, but have a personal relationship with God through Jesus. Job says, first step, know God. Second step, be at peace with yourself. Be at peace with yourself. And number 3, when we do those two things, good will come to you. Let me tell somebody this morning, good is coming to you this morning because you know God and you're at peace this morning and you love God with all your heart and you can't stop what's happening. But let me tell somebody, good will come to you. Good is coming to somebody this morning. In the middle of all this rubbish, to finish the class of 2020, there's somebody this morning and you're going to graduate with honor because you've learned to be content. You've learned to be at peace with. I want people to leave this Sunday morning session, and it feels more like a session rather than church this morning. It feels like a teaching seminar. It feels more like a teaching session than full-on rah-rah church. To leave this morning content. And that means to be at peace with yourself. To be satisfied. Can I just finish 2 more minutes? 2 more minutes and 1 more Bible verse. Point number 2. Major point number 2 this morning is, number 2, how to graduate with honor. The class of 2020. Number 2, choose contentment. Choose contentment. I choose. Paul says, I have learned. He'd made a choice. He'd made a decision to be content whatever my circumstances. Choose contentment whatever your circumstances this morning. There are too many people this morning who are choosing to contend, who are choosing to be frustrated, who are choosing to be disappointed. Too many people this morning who are choosing to strive. Let me tell you something. We will never end 2020 well if we choose that. This morning, is anybody with me? I this morning want to choose contentment. And Hebrews 12:15 in the Message gives us a very clear warning. Hebrews 12:15 in the Message says this: keep a sharp eye out for the weeds of... I'll say that again. Keep a sharp eye out for the weeds of bitter discontent. I didn't want to get that wrong. Keep a sharp eye out for the weeds of bitter discontent. Those feelings and thoughts that creep into our minds and into our life that stir up discontent. It's the opposite of content. There's so many people this morning living in discontent, living with envy, living with self-pity. So many people living with entitlements, living with disappointments. And the writer of Hebrews talks about weeds of discontent that will steal, I'm going to finish with this, that will steal our gratitude. There are weeds of discontent this morning. The kind of stuff, the entitlement, disappointment, the envy, the self-pity, that will steal our gratitude and appreciation of what we have. We can look always at what we do not have, and it steals the appreciation of what we do have. it steals the appreciation of what God has already given us. Come on, God has given you so much this morning. God has done so much for us this morning. God is doing and has done and will do so much in us this morning. Come on, somebody. What if you are exactly where you are meant to be right now? What if this morning you are with who you are meant to be right now? What if you are at exactly the right time this morning? Exactly where we are meant to be, with who we're meant to be, at exactly the right time. Well, let me say something this morning, just to bring some peace into your life and contentment into your life and get us focused this morning. Well, guess what? For those who love God and for those who are faithful and for those who are surrendered, for those who are obedient, you are exactly where you were meant to be this morning. You are with the people that you're meant to be with this morning at exactly the right time. You're already there. So stop striving and stop struggling and stop disputing and stop wishing you were somewhere else with somebody else in a different time. Come on, get some peace this morning. God has placed you exactly where you were meant to be. Now, I'm only talking to people this morning who love God, because there are a lot of people this morning who are not where they're supposed to be. They are not with the people they're supposed to be, and they're not in exactly the right time because they've turned their backs on God, or have dismissed God or disputed with God and gone their own way. But this morning is for people who love God and people who are faithful, people like you and people who are surrendered, people who are obedient. You are exactly where you are meant to be this morning. Come on, somebody take just a few moments to be thankful for that, to be grateful for that. Do not let weeds of discontent this week steal your gratitude and steal your appreciation and steal your praise for where you are and with who you're with and the time that we're in right now. God has meant us to be in this time right now. It's all good. It's all good. Are you good this morning? So be content. Don't contend this week. If you find yourself contending, remember this message. Give yourself a big slap or a big kick, or get someone else to do it for you. Stop contending, stop striving, stop struggling, stop wrestling, and find peace this week in Jesus' name. Find some contentment. Don't beat yourself up, but learn to be at peace with yourself, warts and all. Is that for somebody this morning? Hey, have a great week. I've got so much to say and so little time to say it in that this will continue for a few more weeks. I've got loads more points and loads more Bible verses. But hey, for now, just have a great week. We're praying for you this week that you'll graduate from the class of 2020 with honor. Amen. Have a great week, church. We'll see you next Sunday. God bless you.